Hello and welcome to the NGO Whisperer Show in partnership with Behenet. The NGO Whisperer Show is a show that celebrates men and women from all over the world who are making an impact in other people's lives. My name is Carolyne Opinde. I am the founder of the NGO Whisperer, a consulting business that helps nonprofits raise funds so they can successfully impact people's lives. Today, joining us via Zoom is a wonderful woman, champion, social entrepreneur, and founder of Leading Women of Africa, Madelein Mkunu. She's joining us from Cape Town. Welcome to the show, Madelein.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for having me on the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure that you are able to join us today. I know you have a trip that is coming up for the amazing things that you do across Africa. Just to start us off, why Leading Women of Africa? Where did it come about? And what is the vision of this amazing work that you do?
Well, thank you so much. I think this is always the first question that I get asked, why Leading Women of Africa? Africa has 54 countries. But it shares one piece of land. It's not like the US, which has 52 states and it's one country. Africa is different. So the idea that came into mind was that how can we create a connection or linkages between women on a continent? Because we share one piece of land, we share one history. Most of the African countries, we share one history, and obviously we share one future. So the idea was to create a platform that interlink women from the continent for the purpose of basically exchanging best practices, but also the most important thing is to do business together. As we know, Africa offers so many economic opportunities, and we feel that women are lagging behind. And we wanted to create a platform that creates, makes that linkages for women to start trading together, to start doing business together, and to exchange experiences and also the future.
So speaking of the linkages that Leading Women of Africa is providing for women across Africa, all the way from Cape Town to Cairo and from, the Horn of Africa to the West of Africa, looking at all those, what do you mean by the linkages? Could you give us examples of linkages that you've created?
Yes, there's so many examples, Caroline. We have started Leading Women of Africa in 2008. And from 2000, so we're 10 years old now. From 2008 until now, we've done actually created number of opportunities. So what we do on the continent is that we create one of the legs that we do, that Leading Women of Africa is focusing about, is trade and investment on a continent for women. And for that, what we do, we conduct a number of trade missions, women-only trade missions around the continent. So we've done Nigeria, we've done Kenya, we've done Tanzania, we've done Ghana, we've done DRC and Ethiopia and many other countries. So tangibly, what we do there is that we allow women a platform where they can network, first of all, and engage with stakeholders, whether at government or private sector or any other economic institutions in a particular country, and identify as well business opportunities that are in those countries. So within Leading Women of Africa, we have a program called Women in Infrastructure Development in Africa, WIDA, where we actually really focus on women who are involved in sectors that were previously dominated by male, and they are still dominated by male. So we're looking at women in construction. So we have basically a group of women operating in construction sector. We have women in energy. We have women in transport. and women in shipping. So basically all the sectors that were previously male-dominated, we're seeing the emergence of women actually embracing those sectors.
So, Madelein, you are impacting lives of women by helping them and positioning them into all these sectors that were previously male dominated, and you are opening up doors for women, and specifically women in Africa. I know there is a trip that you're making to Kenya for an amazing event that you have pulled together that is aligned to this mission. Would you please share with us what is going to be happening in Kenya in June?
You know what, just an intro to the events that is taking place in Kenya next week. The event actually is called Women in Supply Chain in Africa. This is a platform that we are putting together to bring women supply chain business or in a supply chain profession. Why supply chain? Basically, when we look at the whole settings of women and what they're involved in, women is at the center of every consumption and every production. So women make economic decisions. So we need to make sure along the whole supply chain that women are placed in a decision-making position, whether she's a woman entrepreneur or woman professional operating in a supply chain sector. And there we're looking at the whole chain, basically from production right to distribution. Women are making decisions. Whether I am just a consumer, I make an economic decision. The events we put together is only exclusively for women. It actually involves lots of men, because we believe that as much as we want to empower women, but the boardroom is still overpopulated by men. So we need to bring men on board. We need the buy-in of men. So we're bringing men and women decision makers in transport, in manufacturing, in agriculture, in the banking sector, because we still need to see that more women are serviced in those industries. So the event in Kenya, it's yes, it's named Women in Supply Chain, but we are seeing that a lot of corporate companies in Kenya, from banking sector to construction to IT, they are very interested in this platform that we are creating. Actually, the platform is created based on the need. We've done a bit of survey in those sectors, and we've seen a lot of corporate companies that have said that, you know what, we need to empower women in those sectors, but we don't find them. And so this is an opportunity where we kind of bringing the corporate and the women operating in the supply chain profession or enterprises to come together so we can create this networking platform.
Madelein, speaking of bringing women from different fields, where do you get these women? How do you recruit them to come into your events? For example, in Kenya, could you let us know, and for all the women who are out there, how can they be part of Leading Women of Africa and joining these events that you are having in my beloved country, Kenya, and also across Africa?
Well, as Leading Women of Africa, we have been creating, basically, a database or a network of women. We work with corporates that are encouraging, corporates that really want to empower women. There are a number of corporates that sees that the time for women has arrived, and we need to actually bring women on board. Hence, we were invited as Leading Women of Africa to try and outsource or to try and identify those women that are operating in various sectors in the region that would like to network with corporate companies in East Africa. So the way we actually bring women on board is it's easy. We have a network of women, and once you have a program that is of interest to women, one woman will tell another woman. And that's how actually we are bringing these women together. And obviously from the corporate side is also it works the same. We work with Chamber of Commerce, we work with private sector platforms that have the database of corporate companies, and we contact them and we interact with them, and they tell us what they're looking for. Obviously, they're looking for women to empower, and we tell them what we can do for them. That's basically how we build a network, and that's how we basically collaborate with corporate, but also government. Because when we talk about supply chain, it's not only private sector. It's also the bulk of the work is being done by government departments.
Awesome.
So we want to ensure that a portion of jobs allocated or projects allocated by the government, it's also reserved for women operating in those sectors.
That is so wonderful. I have a question for you. Going forward in 2019, 2020, what are the plans that you have for women in Africa? For those who haven't joined Leading Women of Africa, how can they be part of this movement?
Yes, the way we're operating is that we look at for the priority sectors in every country. Every country is different, and every country will have their own priority sectors where they would like to focus on in a particular year, and it depends on those sectors. For instance, in some countries, we've seen a number of women's grouping involved in agri-processing that have come to us and say, you know what, we would like to see more women, because there are a number of women farmers, subsistence farmers, and we would like to basically upgrade to see that those women, they are creating a whole supply chain in agri-processing, meaning from production right to manufacturing and distribution. So we are, for instance, now working with Guinea, Republic of Guinea, Guinea-Conakry. We're working with them on agri-processing. So that is their priority sectors. You will get another country, for instance, in Ghana now, they are now focusing on women in financial services, where they would like to see more women involved in a banking sector, women in financial services. And there we are putting together a project that will empower women or will equip women interested in financial services, where we bring financial literacy. We are partnering with financial service companies and some banks that will create a platform for us to empower more women involved in that, either as entrepreneurs or women professionals. And in Kenya now, we see more focus on women in transport. And hence we are doing this supply chain program.
How can I join this program if I am not part of it yet? Is there a place I can go to? Is it online, or do you guys have offices all over?
Well, it's easy. I mean, for now with technology, you don't need to have offices all over. You need just an online presence and you can attract the whole world. Yes, should you want to register to the upcoming events, you can go to www.leadingwomenofafrica.com, and the event should be right on the homepage. And but we also have a local partner in Kenya, in East Africa, that we're working with. House of Procurement is our partner in Kenya, and we've been really putting together this platform so they can also contact the House of Procurement in Kenya. But the House of Procurement also operates across the region. So whether you're in Rwanda, in Uganda, in Tanzania, and we have delegates from all those countries, they can directly contact our partner in Nairobi.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. What you've shared with us, in other words, we can call it a private, public-private partnership, that you're using this model to bring change in women's life. And the way I see it is, this is the future of nonprofits and how nonprofits are going to operate going forward. Nonprofits cannot operate on their own. We need the corporate, we need the government, we need all the stakeholders and the beneficiaries or the clients that we are serving all coming together. I am very, very excited and for the amazing things that you're doing with women of Africa, and I wish you the very best. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the very best in your upcoming events in Kenya and also in other parts of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a great pleasure to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. And we thank our guest today, Madelein Mkunu, all the way from Cape Town. She joined us via Zoom. And if you want to know more about what Leading Women of Africa does, and also what we are doing and amazing stories such as this, you can go to our website on Behenet or go to the NGO Whisperer website. Thank you so much, because together we are connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives.